Alright, I just wanted to make a little tips video of stuff I've learned from playing on August. I wasn't a part of the beta, so I came in with like fresh knowledge, or well, no knowledge really, so everything I've learned is kind of just what I've found through playing. I picked range because I thought it would be cool to eventually use a one-tick blowpipe. Uh, I went melee and trailblazer, and I never got to experience a one-tick blowpipe, and so I thought I would try to experience it here. And yeah, here I am, trying to just play and learning stuff, and I just thought a little tip video would be just a nice little thing to have, like a reference guide for newer players who might not have as much time to play as I do. So I'm gonna start off with like some like general tips, or like little like tidbits of knowledge that I've kind of just thought about and uh, or saw it talked about in help chat or something. Um, you should always, pretty much no matter what you plan on doing, get to level 20 in like every skill you can on the tutorial island. If you don't, you'll probably regret it. That's really just like to just take the couple minutes, just go to a normie, like go to the normie game mode, get to level 20. You'll probably thank yourself, especially if you're a masochist. Like if you're a masochist, that is like, yeah, it's huge, especially for combats, early level combats. Even on like a normie, I don't know about normie, but even on like a artisan or whatever, it's still kind of rough. So, that's like a little tip right there. The server, you don't need alt accounts, but obviously alt accounts are never a bad thing, just whether you're just thieving for upgrade gems or just thieving for cash or thieving for gems, so that way you can cut down on the time to upgrade your armor or whatever, for whatever reasons. Even if you're just PVMing or skilling, it really does incentivize using alts. Um, yeah, especially with the upgrading system. I'm not even picking my stuff up. Holy shit. Really just zoning out. Anyways, just upgrade system, you require a lot of upgrade gems, so it's really like something uh that is like really incentivized. Uh Also, prestiging makes a pretty big fucking difference. Obviously depends on, I feel like some skills are kind of questionable to prestige, but at the very moment right now, at least for combats, it's pretty much always worth it to prestige when you can. uh the benefits you get are really good. Obviously, it depends if you're a masochist, maybe it's a little different. I'm not playing a masochist, I'm playing much faster game mode, so I feel like uh yeah, whatever. Prestiging is really good. You should try to do it if you can. And if you're not a masochist, another little tip, little like kind of little just suggestion. If you're not a masochist, you can really ask masochists for help if it's a tradable thing that you want to be crafted, smithed, whatever, potions even probably. They'll probably do it honestly for free. All the masochists I've talked with have been like really friendly, uh, just like making stuff for free, shit like that. Just overall being very, very friendly and nice. Even giving your dupes to you in case you get a really good like duplicate item. But I just do suggest, at least a few I've used, they didn't charge me, but if you do use a masochist, it would be nice to tip them whatever you can. Really, it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying you have to give them your whole fucking bank, but like, just a little something, make it worth them doing all of that. Uh, and another thing is, always go to the Tarn boss. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. But like, honestly, if the Tarn boss is up and you're like just doing something, it is incredibly beneficial to do Tarn. Like, even if you don't get lucky on rewards, fucking trouble clicking. Even if you don't get like good, like a unique or anything, or a rare reward, just the XP tokens honestly are fantastic for any game mode you play in. I'm pretty sure they're tradable too, so you can even trade them, or they're, you know what I mean. You can trade them to alts, or you probably even sell them. I imagine Masochist would fucking gobble that shit up. Uh, yeah, Tarn's really fucking helpful. Winter usually spawns them, like, kind of just randomly throughout the day, and spawns quite a few of them. Another thing is, a suggestion is, to suggest stuff. If you see something, or think of something that would be cool to have, suggest it. You know, he seems really receptive with, at least entertaining the idea of things, so just suggest stuff. You know, there's no point in, or, you know, if you think something should be changed, you know, no point in crying about it in help chat. You know, just make a suggestion, and he'll either maybe approve it, or talk about it, or something like that, and, you know, it just makes it easier for everyone. Yeah. And just and also another thing is, potions, like, potions and food are not like a buyable thing on on August. You have to actually, like, go out of your way to craft them or fish for food. So another thing is, I think he might be adding master farmers, but currently, if you big net fish, you can get caskets, and caskets give seeds, and those seeds, I mean, they're literally just pretty much all types of herb seeds, which are just really good, honestly, especially if you're an Iron Man. You can fish there for probably a little bit, and you get plenty of seeds to start out doing herb lore. And, you know, even if you want to just make some starter money, I imagine, honestly, you could probably make some easy money just selling potions, as people fucking really need potions. Shit, I need potions. I'm out here buying fucking ranging potions for like 20k each. Fucking literally highway robbery, but it's, you know, just what people are charging, and whatever. I'm lazy, so I'm not gonna fucking do it. And it's another thing is, like, this is like a fresh eco, so it's, I feel like GP is not as valuable. So, like, if you get like a good item, like a rare item, I would probably try to, like, trade it for something you need instead of, like, selling it for cash, just because, like, items aren't really set in stone, you know. Like, an item, everything's volatile. It's kind of just whoever feels like, whoever's desperate enough for an item, you know. So personally, I mean, I'm not really using much cash outside of, like, keeping a little bit on me to make sure I can buy potions and little bits here and there, you know. Yeah, so moving away from just, like, more general stuff, I'm gonna go about a little more in depth to, like, game modes and specializations. Specializations and game modes. Masochist, I feel like, is not entirely worth it unless you're, like, really grinding. Like, you have to be a fucking, like, a grinder. I'm talking, like, if you're playing Masochist, there's a good chance you probably actually find OSRS fun. Like, you probably are pretty good and, like, doing pretty decent on old school, or you just, like, hate yourself, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. Especially at the current moment, not a whole lot of resources in the eco, so you're kind of Iron Man a lot of your stuff early on. So, you know, choose at your own, you know, discretion. It's a very hard. It's not no fuck around, like, oh yeah, it's 3x, but there's double XP on all the time. You know, like, yeah, you can use double XP tokens, but, you know, even then that's just 6x. And there's, like, little bits, like skilling outfits that give you tiny bits of XP, but in all reality, you're not getting much higher than that. And so Slayer Master is, honestly, I feel like, actually the weakest game mode. I actually originally started as Slayer Master, but I ended up switching because it just felt considerably weaker. Like, really the only thing it gave you was more superiors, but at the current moment, superiors aren't really that good. Like, they give you, like, like a decent chunk of XP, but like honestly, it's kind of like a depressing amount of XP, honestly, for how rare they seem to are. Even on my Slayer Master, I didn't get superiors that often. Like, it doesn't feel that much different going from my Slayer Master to my Artisan. It doesn't feel like that big of a difference, personally. Then there's like a little bit of boss drop rate, I think. That's about it. Like, I don't... And then the thing is, the more confusing thing is, your combat is actually a lot slower on a Slayer Master compared to an Artisan or Gatherer. I didn't understand that, and since I wasn't really skilling on my main account that I'm like playing on and PBMing on, I didn't really see the point of playing that. Like superiors aren't that good. Slayer Shop is like okay, so I think Slayer Master is probably the weakest game mode right now. There's a lot you could do to fix it probably, but currently, as it stands, just after launch, I feel like it's probably the weakest. And then Artisan and Gatherer are probably both around the same, honestly. They're both really good. You'll probably want both, honestly. Or, it's just nice. That extra crafting chance and just being able to craft everything in your inventory at once is really beautiful. It's honestly super nice. And now getting more into like the combat specialties. What I've noticed firsthand is that range struggles early on. Like the first day, it was actually kind of a struggle. Like it takes a bit to get to a point where you can actually upgrade your ranged gear, honestly. Like it's basically just you're getting your starter gear from the shop and then you go to barracks. That's pretty much it, you know? And that you can take you a while, so it feels kind of bad. But then mid game, it seems like it excels considerably hard, as you can probably see in the background. This is more like, I guess, like mid late game right now, I guess, if you're considering like actually like what's in the game really. But I'm hitting pretty hard, you know. Also like really not paying attention to what the fuck's going on. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but it's fine. Uh, Mage range, I feel like is going to actually be not as good as melee actually in the end game, or maybe like you'll have to rely on headshots because the range prestige is good, right? Like it gives you a lot of accuracy. It doesn't give you much range damage though. Whereas the melee strength gives you strength, like extra strength, and on top of that also bonus damage, like percent damage. So I feel like melee end game is going to be pretty strong. Whereas currently, it seems like melee does better early. Like my melee friend did better early because he could just make all his gear. While we were struggling just using fucking snake skin, my man was like smithing his own gear. He was smithing his whole sets and walking around like a fucking Chad in full granite, which is cool. I like that. But then it gets to a point where you realize that there's really no other upgrades to melee outside of like the upgraded Justiciar. Like regular Justiciar doesn't even give you strength bonus, so I would hardly call it an upgrade. I don't remember if it gives accuracy. It might. I'm not entirely sure, but there's that. Melee, I feel like will do good, maybe even better, or at least on par with range later on, when people actually start prestiging melee and stuff. And then mage is in a weird spot. I don't actually know any friends who went mage, so I can't say for certain. But one thing I can say for certain is that it was definitely really good if you planned on rushing Slayer, because you can just rush Slayer. You can get like the max prestige Slayer, and then you can use the Slayer points you've gotten from rushing Slayer to just switch specialties. So you'll probably end up with really high magic prestige, health prestige, and Slayer prestige, and a decent bit of Slayer points for if he eventually adds more stuff, which he will probably end up adding more stuff to the Slayer shop and making it a little more useful. So I'm not entirely sure how like the single target is. I can't actually say that. I have no idea, but you know, it's still, I mean, it'll be good for barraging tasks. I know that for sure, you know? So, Mage is probably the weakest right now for anything other than just rushing Slayer, I'd imagine. Uh, it's also, runes are kind of expensive. I mean, even if, when I was trying to train Mage on my uh, other account just to barrage to see how it worked, it wasn't even my Mage account. Which I guess also would make it a little worse, you know, since I'm not like dealing more damage and stuff. But I was having 2 accounts thieving money, and I was still kind of bleeding runes. Like, you really need to probably actually train rune crafting on your magic account, just so that way you can sustain how many runes you use. All right, I've been talking for a while. I'm gonna go into like the last little segment, just talking about gear a little more specifically. Uh, So in this server, accuracy actually means a lot. Like, it actually is like, it's not just like, oh yeah, cool, a little bit of accuracy. No, like, gear gives accuracy, and that's actually really good. Late game mobs are actually kind of tanky, as you can see right now. Like, I mean, I'm using a tier 95 weapon, and I'm, you know, still kind of inaccurate, you know? I am also 7th prestiged in range, and I'm still pretty inaccurate. Like, you really want to focus on getting your accuracy up. Really important on August. So, uh, and another thing is that I've noticed actually, items are not like what they are like on old school. Like, I seen people talking about the Ring of Stone, and I was like, there's no way it can be that good. It's obviously just a troll. Just like people trying to sell Dragon Claws, which are just smithable items. You know, it's nothing crazy. You're not getting it from chambers or anything. It's actually a really good item. It gives like 11 range strength. It's tribrid, I'm pretty sure. I think it even gives like 2% magic damage and some strength. It's a really good ring, honestly. For if you want to just grind out, or not grind out, but spend a couple mil on getting it. It was a pretty nice little upgrade, honestly. So like, just items don't reflect the same stats. Like, if there's an item that exists on both August and old school, then it's good chance that it's like different stats, like definitely upgraded stats. So like, just, you know, make sure to check stats of items and examine shit. Just examine everything. Just examine it all. A lot of things have examine text that'll allude to what it's used for, or it'll tell you what it's used for, or whatever, you know. Another thing is, don't just upgrade your weapon. I've seen people doing it. Uh, it's kind of like the typical custom server thing, you know, like, typically armor doesn't really give a huge benefit, so weapons are like the best thing to upgrade, and it's not worth spending money on or time on like getting a set. This is not true on August. Like, you really need, I guess it depends. Like, early game, I feel like it's not that true, but like later game, the armor sets actually make a big difference. Like, they give a lot of stats, not even just accuracy. They give strength, they give prayer. I'm not entirely sure how defenses are, like, if defense is like a big thing, but like, my defense is pretty big. Maybe that'll help in raids or when I'm doing God Wars dungeon or something like that. But like, gear really means something. You don't want to just upgrade your weapon. You want to make sure you're around the same level all around. And in terms of like, just like some easily obtainable or like little side goals to set for items, like Ranger and Infinity, both tier 80 sets, I'm pretty sure, that are like relatively easy to craft and grind for. Like, I'm still using shit. I'm like fucking wearing all this. I'm still using Ranger gloves and Ranger boots. They're surprisingly good for how easy they are to get, honestly. So like, that's a shout, you know, little shout. And melee, I don't really like melee. You kind of just craft your gear up until like barrows. You do barrows, and then after that, it's like you either get sapphire armor and work up the gemstone area, or you go to Justiciars and try to get the Justiciar and upgraded Justiciar. After that, you know, there's uh, not much else really at the moment. I mean, other than like, there's God Wars, but you know, it's just, there's a lot of grinding. So realistically, it sounds a little less, but yeah. Also, another little thing, just before I end this, the bows, the gemstone bows, all of the sapphire, whatever, are actually long bows, so you have to like maintain your distance to actually, otherwise you'll actually get a large negative in like a attack, which will actually make a pretty big difference. Yeah, I just wanted to like probably just do a little tired rant of just telling people some tips and stuff, and hopefully it helps someone if you ever even care to listen to this. Guess a good rest of your night or whatever. Good luck grinding. See you guys.